So I'm sure a lot of you are aware, though, that there was a terror attack in Manchester. There was an attack in the UK. It was terrible. Some man went on a wild stabbing rampage of a Jewish synagogue in Middleton Road and Heaton Park. It was extremely serious, but a lot has happened. There are full-blown crash outs from the Labour Party. Like, I'm talking, they have been exposed for their lies back to back to back. They try to call and say that they have sympathy for what's going on, when in reality they don't. Anyways, Keir Starmer literally says, "I'm appalled by the attack at the synagogue in Kumsal. The fact that this has been taking place on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, makes it all the more horrific." Despite this man's language, he actually says this. "My thoughts are the loved ones of those who are all affected. My thanks goes to the emergency services and all the first responders." And of course, look at this. Tommy Robinson tells it how it is. "You've encouraged this by rewarding jihad and recognizing that terrorist shithole as a state. You capitulated British values and surrendered to the mob." Abso-freaking-lutely he has. He has given up British values altogether. He's given up the values of Western society. Now, I do agree with Palestine being a state, but the way the UK did it is they did it without any assurances at all. No demilitarization of the zone, no removing Hamas from the zone, no removing extremism from the zone. They full-blown just wanted to give Palestine a state with no control whatsoever. And literally the people, the Hamas literally said, and the president or whatever it was of Palestine literally said that there was fruits of October 7th. They said that because the terror attack they did on October 7th, that literally brought about them being recognized as a state. That's what Keir Starmer has done. He has capitulated his British values. He has surrendered to the jihadists and the mob. And it's disgusting. That is not Western society. And this is what happened the day after the attack. Look at this. The day after the attack, there were Palestinian protests that turned into a literal mob and a literal riot. Absolutely ridiculous. This is the day after the synagogue was attacked. The day after the synagogue was attacked, the same way that we seen people celebrate Charlie Kirk's murder, the same way in the U.S. and across the world, we've seen people say that Charlie Kirk deserved to die. The same thing is happening in London. In London, immediately after the attack, they go to the street to protest for Palestine, believing that the Jewish people deserve that attack. Look at this.
It's mostly pro-Palestine protesters that are there right now. It is getting a bit violent.
Protest. A violent protest.
Big police vans filled with officers just go onto Whitehall. Basically, about sort of half an hour ago, the police cordon that was in place to try basically to control some of the protests.
Keir Starmer and the politicians of the UK, their speech has caused this. They have radicalized these people. They have full-blown allowed these people to become so radicalized. And y'all remember how they talked about Tommy Robinson's protest with 3 million people. They said it was so violent. This is probably 1,000 people, and they can't even get control of them.
And to stop violence breaking out,
Tommy Robinson brought 3 million people and zero violence, basically zero violence. 19 people were arrested. Compared to probably 50 to 100 that night at least out of 1,000. Like, are you kidding me? But look at this. The pathetic BBC says Jewish community feel at risk from far right and people who have a political mindset linked to the Middle East. They won't say far left or Islam. They are cowards and a disgrace. Their job is to report the news, but they are biased even now to hide the truth. Exactly. It's insane to me how people cannot see what's going on. If you outsource your morality to these people, to these news stations, they will trick you into believing that the Jews deserve to be attacked, or that if you outsource your morality to these people, they will use full-blown malevolence into tricking you that it is far-right people that are with mindsets linked to the Middle East, when in reality it's not. Okay, it's not. We all know what's going on. We all have brains. We all have pattern recognition. This is what I mean. This person says that Manchester attack is on Netanyahu. Like him or not, like Netanyahu or not, you can like him or hate him. How is an attack in Manchester on him? That people in the UK have gotten so radicalized over a war thousands of miles away that they've come to the point that they would kill their own citizen, their brother, their own neighbor, that they would kill them for what they believe. That's not on Netanyahu. That's not on the war that's going on over there. That's on your leaders. Your leaders have brainwashed you to that extent. Your leaders have brainwashed the people and radicalized them to that extent that they can actually blame something going on 1,000 miles away. There are Christians literally being ethno-cleansed in Nigeria, full-blown genocide in Nigeria. Over 100,000 people have been killed in Nigeria strictly because they're Christian. You don't see anybody killing Nigerians in the UK over that. But the Nigerian princes, quote, aren't doing shit about it. So that's on the UK leaders. That's on Starmer. That's on the politicians in the UK to slow down the rhetoric and actually stop people from being radicalized. But they don't. It's on the UK leaders. But listen to this. This is what she has to say.
The countries. I blame this on Benjamin Netanyahu. Sorry, because he keeps telling the world that those atrocities that are taking place in Gaza is for the security and the safety of Jewish people all around the world. Can anyone connect those links together?
Yeah, there's a Jewish state because they made a Jewish state because they didn't feel safe after World War II. So yeah, all Jews do think that they need it. At least most Jews think that they need a Jewish state to feel safe. Same with the Palestinians. They think that they need a Palestinian state to feel safe. But Palestine has continuously launched attacks into Israel for the past however long. Literally refused two-state solutions. How many times? Because they didn't want a two-state. They wanted a one-state. They wanted a Palestinian state from the river to the sea. They wanted to take over all of Israel. That's why in the past they have refused so many two-state solutions. They continue to attack Israel. And I'm not an Israel supporter. I just think in common sense. I literally just think in common sense. I am not some Israel fanatic. I'm not a Jew. I'm literally a white Christian man, okay? Like literally, this is the issue, right? This is the real issue. You have full-blown outsourced your morality to somebody else, and you now believe that because Netanyahu said that we need to protect the Jewish state for all Jews, that's why all Jews are now on the table for attacks. You are a disgusting human being.
When things like that are said on a public platform by politicians and leaders, and you're going to get people on the fringe minority that get radicalized by that shit and ends up putting Jewish communities in danger, which is what we've just seen here now. That's exactly what's going to happen.
So because people have been so radicalized to support Palestine, they've been so radicalized, while there are thousands of countless of other atrocities happening in the world right now, that people are so radicalized around Palestine that's all Netanyahu's fault because they won't give in to Palestine. By the way, yeah, 6 times. This would be the 7th, I think. Yeah. I don't have confidence Trump will pull it off. The region is too volatile. Exactly. It's not going to happen. If it does, I will be surprised. Because the issue is the UK did not want stipulations. They did not want any assurances that Hamas would leave the area. They didn't want any assurances that Hamas would demilitarize. They did not want any assurances that extremism would leave the area. They literally just want to give them a state outright. And Trump at least wants some regulation, some kind of overarching force that continues to provide safety for both Palestine and Israel. But the issue is the Palestinians don't like the Israel part because they don't want a 2-state solution. They want a 1-state solution. They are the ones that voted in Hamas. Yes, their mindset might have changed. And if it has, hopefully they'll accept Trump's deal. But this is the issue. There are thousands of other atrocities happening in the world, but the world is so focused on one. I've named you one. Nigeria right now is worse. There's atrocities happening right now that are just as bad. Young children dying. There's children starving in Africa right now. So many. Why around the world do people only care about this one issue? Maybe your news media, maybe your politicians are using it to twist you because you have outsourced your morality to them, and they now can use their malevolence to twist you. Yes, Palestinians deserve a state or a place to be. Yes, they deserve peace, but no, they don't deserve to kill all Jews and remove Jews from Israel. Israel is a recognized place. They don't deserve that. They deserve Palestine. Atrocities against Muslims are also ignored when it's Buddhists doing it. Points to the Rohingya. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. There are so many atrocities, yet you only care about one. You have outsourced your morality to the point that you literally feel it so extremely that you blame not Netanyahu, some freaking prime minister or president of some freaking state, thousands of miles away for something happening in your own backyard. Your politicians are to blame. Your news media is to blame. The people radicalizing your neighbors are to blame. And that's just clear. Look at this. I am horrified by the attack at the synagogue in Manchester today. This is Shabbat Mahmoud on the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. My first thoughts are with the victims, our brave police and emergency services. This also seems like a ChatGPT tweet. Isn't it weird how all these politicians that are so against deporting illegal immigrants, or at least they pretend to want to, but are so against actually listening to the people? But yeah, they all seem too eerily similar. But this is also Shabana Mahmoud. This is also Shabana Mahmoud. This is what has radicalized the people to such an extent. Their own politicians going out in protest of something happening thousands of miles away. Like, it's insane. This radicalizes not only their side, but the opposite. So whenever you have your neighbor radicalized, it's not Netanyahu that's to blame. It's not Trump that's to blame. You're all the way in the UK. It is your own politicians that are to blame. It's your own media that's to blame. Yeah, look at this. Owen, this BBC statement defames Bobby Villain. Death to the IDF is not anti-Semitic. And this is him saying that what happened at the synagogue in Manchester is absolutely horrific. But he thinks death to the IDF is not an anti-Semitic statement. Looks like Gaza-related far-left violence is taking place against the police this evening. I look forward to another podium speech from the Prime Minister, as well as condemnation by all Labor front bench on Sadiq Khan. Anything less is bigotry. The issue is they're faking it, right? Extremely ridiculous. The day after this attack, they hold a Palestinian protest to this extent. It's ridiculous. It's insane. It shows that they don't care. These Palestinian protesters do not care that a synagogue was just attacked in the UK. They don't care that Jewish people died. They think all Jewish people are the problem because their politicians have radicalized them to believe that their Jewish neighbor is a member of the IDF and a member of their religious war. I bet these clowns can't even point to Gaza on a map. No, they could not. Dude, they would never even know. They don't even know where Israel is. But they blame Netanyahu for their neighbor being radicalized enough to kill Jewish people in synagogues. But of course, Keir Starmer had his, who was it? I know for a fact I just saw this. I look forward to another podium speech from the Prime Minister. Yeah. Yeah, because he knew it was going to happen, because this happens every single time. He literally encourages this. He literally does this. He is the one that panders to the Free Palestine crowd. He's the one that calls Tommy Robinson's protest violent when only 19 people were arrested out of 3 million, and says that a protest with 50,000 Palestinians and 500 people being arrested is peaceful. He's the one that has a clear bias. And when you outsource your morality to your prime minister, if you ever outsource your morality to your prime minister, you will find that Jews are the problem. Israel's the problem. Those that are against illegal immigration are the problem. That's what he wants. He wants you to outsource your morality to him so that he can get you to think that way, which is why he passed laws putting you in prison for thinking the opposite. That's why he passed laws calling it wrong think, for you to think differently than him.
The attack in Manchester this morning is absolutely shocking, and all of our thoughts are with those affected. I'm on my way back to London. When I arrive, I will chair an emergency COBRA meeting. I'm already able to say that additional police assets are being deployed to synagogues across the country, and we will do everything to keep our Jewish community safe. I've spoken to Mark Gardner of the CST and Andy Burnham, Mayor of Manchester, and I want to thank the emergency services for the speed of their response. The attack in Manchester this morning.
This man does not care. For those who are unaware, after terrorist stabbing by a Muslim man at a synagogue in Manchester today, Britain has broken out into nationwide violent Palestine protest in solidarity with the terrorists. It's going great. Such a peaceful protest, boys. The BBC will call this peaceful. Or they'll say there was just a slight amount of violence. The people have been radicalized to this extent that when there's an attack at a synagogue, instead of going out and condemning it, they go out and basically say it's for Gaza. I honestly don't understand what these people want. The peace lies at the feet of Hamas, and today, hours after the murder of Jewish people at prayer, they cannot find the humanity within themselves to see how wrong it is. Exactly. Because they don't care. They don't care. That's the issue. They don't care. They've been radicalized by their prime minister. They've been radicalized by their media, by their news, by their politicians, by their professors. They've been radicalized to this point, to believe that any and all Jews are the problem because of Netanyahu, because of some Israel president thousands of miles away. The issue is, sometimes there's people you can't save. Sometimes you're only feeding a starving wolf so that it can bite you. And if you continue to outsource your morality to these politicians that simply want to control you, control your mind, control what you say and do, control what you think, control you where you can or can't go, control what political ideology you can or can't have. When you do that, you lose your freedoms and you lose your civilities and you lose your rights. And I think that's even more clear with the digital ID. Because this is what the government had to say. The government.uk, think before you post. Think before you speak. This is the digital ID card's petition against digital ID. 2 million signatures. Government responds with, "We will introduce digital ID anyway." There comes to a point where people need to decide. Are you going to continue to allow your politicians, your media, your professor, anyone else to guilt trip you into believing the same way as them, to guilt trip your political ideology, or to guilt trip you and shame you with emotionally overcharged language to believe and think like they do? Is there a point whenever you're going to say you don't care anymore? You don't care. Why should you have to care? Anyways, boys, it's going to be it for me. GG's. Peace.